Hi, everybody. It is Tuesday, February 20th. It is What Chaos presented by Prize Picks. No nicknames. I'm Deej. Got Pete over there. Got Sean over there. Hope everybody had a safe and healthy U.S. President's Day and Family Day. Pete is remote, which means I have to look at myself in a monitor. I made fun of your hair for looking terrible recently. My hair just looks like shit. But you feel like shit, Pete. You're sick.
I am sick. I was not going to mention your hair. I don't think it looks that bad. It looks like purposefully unkempt, which I don't think is a bad thing.
I don't know how yeah, I don't know. I
do notice that you're wearing my Saberhood sweatshirt that came in the mail yesterday.
Well, that was always going to happen. You opened it. You were. Do I put a hat on? Do I do Saberhood?
No, don't wear it. That's the worst hat of all time.
Sweatshirt, Canadians. Sean, this doesn't go hard, does it, bud?
I mean, I do not like you sullying the good name of the Saberhood with.
Oh yeah, you yelled at me one time a couple weeks ago for even considering mixing and matching teams.
Yeah, I just don't do it. I know that you do it, and that's just not something that I would ever be caught dead doing.
I don't do it. I was considering doing it because the colors matched, but yeah, I think that's probably something that I won't ever do after it was mentioned and called out. I'm not going to mix and match teams. Although I don't even know if the Saberhood thing counts as mixing and matching a team because there's no logo on it.
Right. I mean, I've got you guys won't believe this, but our office is just a fucking catastrophe of random hockey merchandise. I've got a Kings hat, not quite within arm's reach, but if I get you off on a tangent, I could run and get the hat in a quick. I got like a black and white Kings hat right over there I could wear, but
still,
I think your hair looks fine. You're spending too much time worrying about it when it looks fine.
Well, I know it looks fine for like a human, but I've grown accustomed to a certain lifestyle, and the bar has been set at a certain place. You're becoming like, if people don't watch On Cinema at the Cinema, I apologize for not getting the reference. You're just becoming Tim Heidecker in On Cinema at the Cinema. Something is always wrong with you, which is funny because I think you're supposed to be the put together one, and I'm supposed to be the one that with whom there's always something wrong. You're now very sick.
Yeah, I got the flu. So what a couple weeks for me. It was just dying to get home, and now I got home and I'm dying. So love this. Woke up with 104.5 temperature this morning, which is an absolute catastrophe. I feel okay now though.
This makes you smarter than me. If I had a 104.5 fever, I would take way too long to realize it's hospital time, or I'd be like, damn. Sean, are you nodding because you think I would do that, or because you would do the same?
I would do that too. I have like no actual grasp on what I'm supposed to be like, what health is, or what I'm supposed to be feeling like at any given time. So like I could have like a very serious illness and I'd be like, I'm time to drink some orange juice.
I feel like that's a guy thing because I'm the same way in the sense that like I always feel like I can beat something. I always feel like I can fight through it, and you know, this is just the way that I'm feeling right now. And in an hour I'll feel fine. And then I tell somebody that I have 104.5 temperature and they're like, go to the hospital, you fucking moron.
Yeah, so I mean, I was going to compliment you saying that is a level of responsibility and just awareness. When we talk about self-awareness, I think people usually take it to mean, do you understand when you're being annoying? I think that the self-awareness to know my body is failing me is definitely not something I have. And I respect that, at least in the moment, maybe with assistance, you had it. So good for Pete.
What's the temperature at now? Have you checked recently? Someone asked in the chat.
I haven't checked recently. I can get a thermometer once DJ gets into whatever read we have today, and I'll do a little check-in.
Okay.
We can do some over-under.
Oh, no, I'm going to do a very quick read today. You're going to hear Andrew Schultz's name, and then it's going to be gone.
Well, if we're hearing Andrew Schultz's name, it means we're going to get into some over-under talk. So, right?
That actually, I wonder, is that maybe one of the no-nos?
Higher, lower.
Oh, right.
Higher, lower. Friends at Prize Picks. They're just better. They do higher, lower.
Right. Higher, lower. Well, it was a crazy, crazy day for U.S. President's Day and Family Day in Canada. There were 17 goals scored between the Minnesota Wild and the Vancouver Canucks, including the Canucks blowing a 3-goal lead as Minnesota scored 6 goals in 5 minutes and 45 seconds. I don't know what that says about the Minnesota Wild, but it does tell me that the Vancouver Canucks have now skipped past Fraud Watch and are straight to Asshole Watch.
Well, I don't feel like you don't have to go through Fraud Watch to get to Asshole Watch. I feel like it's sort of like Police Station or Hospital, the game that we played with Swifties, where like if you show that you are Delulu to a concerning extent, it's either Police Station or Hospital, and you get to choose one. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to go through one to get to the other. I absolutely am placing the Vancouver Canucks on Asshole Watch, and you know what? I'm placing both of these teams on Asshole Watch. They both played like absolute assholes during that game yesterday. It's just the Minnesota Wild had a better third period, and they had a few guys who didn't play like assholes. Joel Eriksson-Ek and Kirill Kaprizov had 2 of like the more dominant games, especially in that third period, that I've seen in a long, long time. Specifically, Joel Eriksson-Ek. He was fucking everywhere during that game, and it was insanely impressive.
I think it's funny, and it's a good point. You don't need to go through Fraud Watch to be on Asshole Watch because, I mean, the Oilers will always either just be the Oilers or Asshole Watch. They're never going to be Fraud Watch. No one's ever going to be like, are they for real? They should always be for real. They have the best players and best scorers and everything. It's just, are they being assholes or not? So it's a good point by you on the Canucks. I don't know if I quite put the Wild on Asshole Watch. I think if I do put the Wild on Asshole Watch, it's because where was this? You mean to tell me you could be playing 17 goal games and I've been ignoring you because you're such a boring ass team, and now here you go against the best team in the NHL and you just go wild, score 6 goals in under 6 minutes?
Isn't that a reason to put them on Asshole Watch though? It's like they've got it in them to play exciting hockey, and they're just not doing it most of the time. Also, like a big part of the reason why I'm throwing them on Asshole Watch is during that game. By the way, we were watching that game at the studio. We watched, I think, like the first 2 periods at the studio, and me and Sean were just like constantly commenting on that game and how unhinged it was, being like, yo, these 2 teams are playing some wild hockey.
Bodies
right now.
Were flying all over the place.
Right. And then we drove home, and by the time we got home, we had missed like 9 goals.
Insane.
So,
and
I genuinely, like my first thought when you sent that screenshot was that you were fucking with me. Like I thought you threw it together a quick screenshot being like, the game is 10-7, ha ha. You weren't. The Wild are interesting, I guess.
I'd moved off that game too because we were watching it during the Bruins game, and then we were watching it during the Oilers game, and I just committed my full attention to the Oilers, and I think they were somewhere in like the early second period, and I checked Twitter, formerly X, and saw that 1 million goals were being scored, that multiple hat tricks were being scored, just absolute madness over there. But I like it. I like that on a day in which the sports conversation is, oh no, NBA All-Star games have too many points. The NHL in a matinee or like early afternoon game is like, hey, how about this? Double Asshole Watch.
It was deranged. The entire slate was pretty deranged yesterday. And I do want to point out the most deranged thing that happened yesterday was your Oil Man parlay. You bet on the Oilers to have a shutout against the Coyotes, but also bet the over 6.5 goals.
Yeah.
Which is essentially like you're only betting on a 7-0 outcome, which is amazing.
And a Zach Hyman point. And as Sean and I were discussing before the show, I came very close on that parlay. The over hit. Zach Hyman scored. It's just that one of the 3 legs didn't hit. That's all. I came so close to winning like $30 million on the craziest parlay of my life. It is worth noting, the only reason the over hit is because the Coyotes also scored goals in the game. It was 6-3. Good comeback for the Oil Boys, though. I will tell you what, I did end up positive for the day because we'll talk about the Bruins in a sec. Maybe if only for a sec, but I bet the Bruins money line, won that game. That was a wild one. And then when the Oilers somehow fell behind the Coyotes in that game yesterday, easiest money of my life, I live bet the Oilers, and they end up coming back and smoking the Coyotes, really, which is an unfair bet because the Oilers should have never been down in that game. The Coyotes have now lost 400 million games in a row.
Yeah, I saw people complaining on Twitter about like the pop of the arena when the Oilers were scoring a bunch of their goals. I was like, no shit. They're playing at Mullet Arena. The Coyotes have lost 1 million games in a row, and the Oilers are always going to draw well for like Oilers fans. Even when we went to Vegas, like I know Vegas is more of a destination than Tempe, Arizona, but like I would imagine that the Oilers always draw pretty well because it's the Oilers. It's Connor McDavid. Like, were you expecting Coyotes fans to drown out Edmonton fans at Mullet Arena yesterday in the middle of this losing streak? Just a ridiculous thing to say and complain about. But
also, it's like Snowbird USA. Like everyone, it's the same thing with Chicago. Everyone leaves their shitty northern snowy cities to live in Arizona. So that's why it's always going to be like that. That's just the nature of the area.
I remember Gregory Campbell told me that he liked playing against Canadian teams like the Canadians when he was with the Panthers because the place would be packed, and even if it were visiting fans, he just like liked the energy in the building. And a bunch of Florida fans were like, "This is disgusting. There are tons of us. We pack the bed." I was like, "There's literally facts on this. Like there's a lot of old people that live in the South, specifically Florida. They go to these games when their teams are playing. Stop it."
Panthers fans exist and they have shown out, but like when Gregory Campbell played for them, they were not a good team. So I'm sure the building was dead whenever he was out there. So
this was pre-Kevin Spacey. This was pre-Kevin Spacey being part of their lore. And then
I like that that's a separating line for you for the Panthers being good and being bad. Once Kevin Spacey showed up, Panthers good.
I mean, they started doing stuff with him once they'd gotten good. It's
no,
not that
I know.
he caused it,
I'm
but
making a joke.
If you do need like a grocery stick for, I don't know, early aughts into when the Panthers got good, Spacey is part of it.
Did Kevin Spacey change the Panthers culture for the better?
What if the Panthers kept Spacey? What if they were the only people that didn't cancel Kevin Spacey? And they were like, you know what? We're riding it out.
They were just like, look at the splits. Look at the splits. We're much better. We're much better as a result of Kevin Spacey.
That would be... And then, like, if you met a Panthers fan, you'd have to ask them. Like, it's like when you meet a Penn State fan, you're like, how quickly does this person end up bringing up Joe Paterno? I don't want to bring up Joe Paterno. They're going to at some point. And this conversation invariably will be about how they did him dirty. And I'm going to want to run as far as possible. Sean, you were kind of nodding your head. You ever end up in one of these situations?
About Joe Paterno?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure I have.
It's not a fun time.
No, I mean, there's plenty of these things. It's like talking about Jim Boeheim. It's only
I was going to bring that up. I knew he was a Syracuse
man with his car.
That
did happen. Shout out Danny Heatley. Like there's a lot of people like that, and that's just the nature of the world, I guess.
Other games that took place yesterday, the Bruins came back to force overtime with a nice David Pastrnak goal. They win in a 9-round shootout. Their only 2 wins since the break. They're 2-3-2. Have been against division leaders because they took down a very good Dallas Stars team, but also a very banged up Dallas Stars team. So that was one that the Bruins should have won. Maybe this kind of starts to get them a little bit of life, but they're still in a bad way.
They should have won it like on paper. They should not have won that game based off of the way that they played yesterday. Like that was, they not only stole 1 point, they stole 2 points in that game. It reminded me of the Calgary game like a bit from last season. I know it wasn't quite as bad where like they got shelled with like 50 something shots and got bailed out. I want to say by Swayman, right? But like Swayman was great yesterday as well, and they had no business winning that game, especially with the guys that they were trotting out in the shootout. Their shootouts are a wild time, man.
Sean, you were there at the beginning of the shootout. I said exactly what Montgomery was going to do.
Yep.
I said, okay, let's get ready for some order of DeBrusk, Coyle, Pasternak. He brings those guys out there. And the refrain yesterday in Boston on Boston Sports Radio was, why don't they use Charlie McAvoy in the shootout more? Fair. Especially easy to say after he scored the game winner in the shootout. But he generally is going to do something dazzling. And the other one, and this is just a weird Boston thing, Boston is sneaky down on David Pasternak, and that's the craziest thing in the world because, God, where would they be without him? But there was a lot of, they should just stop using him in the shootout. People soured on his move of like the quick kind of lazy shot that he'd been doing, which I loved. It worked, and then it didn't work, and then a fake out of it worked, and then it didn't work, and then it's kind of not worked a million times. He had a really underwhelming attempt yesterday, but what am I going to fucking, like I was talking about David Pasternak's zone entries the other day with somebody, and as I was doing it, I was like, but I'm not going to fucking tell David Pasternak what to do. He knows what he's doing way more than me. If we're talking about some asshole player, sure, maybe I could talk myself into with a bird's eye view, blah, blah. No, David Pasternak knows what he's doing. But the refrain in Boston yesterday was stop using him in the shootout.
I don't think you do that. That's crazy. But
I think you do add a little, you do vary your shootout people. Like, I don't need Charlie Coyle every time. Jake DeBrusk has enough shootout aptitude that I think he's a fair regular. Best goal of this shootout yesterday, though, was Brad Marchand just saying, you know what, I'm just going to fucking send Jake Ottinger into God knows where.
Yeah, and then the next three guys try to mimic the exact same move and realize they didn't have the same shot as Brad Marchand. So that was great. So they just tried the same exact shot, like glove side, and it just didn't work.
No.
So that was hilarious. Did also want to mention that I just like yesterday was an incredible day, just in terms of having sports on all day. And I feel like we as a people and as a society need to make up fake holidays for both the United States and Canada, like once per week.
That's an outrageous thing to say during Black History Month, Pete.
It's not what I'm referring to. Referring to President's Day and Family Day.
Okay,
both
I was waiting
ass holidays.
I was waiting for you to bring this up because we've had somebody in the chat going on and on about Louis Riel, because apparently yesterday was also Louis Riel Day, who was like the guy who founded Manitoba. So shout out Louis Riel. I just wanted to do that for the person in the chat who's been going on about him.
I love that our show does shit like this.
I literally have spent like 10 minutes reading Louis Riel's Wikipedia page. Fascinating figure.
Give it to us for a sec.
He fought against the Canadian government basically to make sure that his people, the Métis people, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, and like Western Canada had rights. And then my favorite part of this is he ended up executing somebody from the Canadian government and then fled to the United States and then won an election 3 times, but could never take his seat because he was too afraid to return to Canada. But I find it funny that Manitoba was like, you have holidays on this day. Well, the guy who was just a big fuck you to Canada for his entire life, we're making his holiday today. Deal with it. So shout out to Louis Riel in Manitoba.
Love that. And Louis Riel is just a very hockey name.
Métis. Shout out Aviva for the pronunciation. Yeah, Louis Riel is, I'm assuming I'm pronouncing that correctly, is a dope name.
I'm a huge fan of doing these shows live because almost every episode we start talking about something and the chat is like, you have no idea what you're talking about, and they just correct us, and then we correct on the fly, and it's wonderful.
It's not.
I learn more on this show than I have in like years of schooling.
But they correct us endearing. It's not.
Yeah,
They
right.
educate us.
Right. They're like, oh, cool, we're learning about this.
Apparently, Louis Riel is like the single most written about figure in Canadian history. He's like incredibly important and incredibly polarizing. Some people look at him as like a religious fanatic. Some people look at him as like a revolutionary hero. So shout out
Also,
once again, Louis Riel.
Also, shout out. We got over 100 people in here right now. I think it's time for a like spike.
Like spike, subscribe
Definitely a
spike.
like spike time. 3, 2, 1. Like spike, baby. Yeah. Get those numbers up. No, back to my point though, is like but I believe that like work weeks should be 4 days and weekends should be 3 days, no matter what. But I want the third day to be just affixed to like a hobby day or a sports day, where it's like what Sunday used to be when I was growing up, where it was like, oh, it's the Lord's Day, everything's closed, you can't do anything. Like every Monday should just be sports day, and there should just be hockey on TV all
Daytime
day.
Hockey goes crazy.
Yes,
I agree.
Matinees all day long.
I had that exact thought earlier this morning.
A friend of the show, Leah, tweeted it yesterday. It was tweeted with if we'd done a hit with Leah, I would have said to her, who are you arguing that against? Because she said yeah, I'll say it. I'm not making fun of Leah here, but she was like, yeah, I'll say it. I want more daytime hockey games. I was like, you and everybody else, sister, I hope.
I know, I hope so.
Give
Although
us.
it throws you off when it's like the middle of a Wednesday for no reason, and you're like, why is there a game on right now? But if there was a fixed day where you're like, all right, I got hockey all day today, and I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna watch like 6 games, I feel like there would be a greater chance of like the unhinged action we had yesterday, and it'd be really good for the sport.
Do you remember when you were a kid and you're either faking sick or just actually sick, and you bang out a fucking Cincinnati Reds game?
Oh.
The best,
dude.
Yes.
You're talking my language.
The best.
Yes.
Imagine if you were like, you know what? I'm not feeling it. I'm sick today. I'm just going to hang in and watch, I don't know, like any of those matchups yesterday.
My favorite thing to do in high school, my senior year, I would just be like, I'm sick. I'm leaving school to go watch Buffalo Bison's AAA baseball downtown. I did it all the time. It was awesome.
Yo, you would go like physically go?
Oh yeah. Like I would go to the games. I would just leave and I'd be like, I don't need this. I'm going to watch baseball.
You know how much smarter everybody would be about like hockey and about sports? Because they'd have an excuse to watch a bunch of teams every week that they normally wouldn't.
Oh, that was the best
so much
part.
More informed.
Back when the Olympic hockey meant something. I guess it does again, but like it would be on during school and everyone would just be on their iPads during Spanish class, just watching hockey, not paying any attention, and it was awesome.
So how can we make this worth the NHL's Wild? Say every Monday there is, I mean, I would like 2. I'd like for there to be 2 Monday day games. Like a 1 and a 4 would be amazing, but the NHL is not going to do it unless they're getting made whole, unless they're 100% well. I've been watching The Sopranos. What can we throw into the NHL to make this worth their while?
Well, I mean, I think it's like a society thing, right? Like everybody has to have that Monday off so that people can go to the games. They're not going to hurt ticket numbers wise. You have to make it a 3-day weekend. That's why I'm saying we got to make up some fake ass holidays to fill 52 weeks a year.
There was some discourse on social media of what is the better day to have off, Friday or Monday? Without thinking, Pete, real quick, what's your answer?
Sorry, I missed that.
Better day to have off, Monday or Friday?
Monday.
It is so not even close. It's Monday. We're all off mentally on Friday anyway. We also don't do our show on Friday, but like even if you work Monday through Friday, the way that your brain adjusts and the way that the week feels shorter when you're starting on Tuesday versus going until Thursday, because at the end of Thursday, you're doing the mental Sunday scary slams laptop shut shit anyway. So
yeah,
Monday is for sure the better one to
agree.
have.
And Just as the final point, like this is not a we don't want to work kind of thing, because I'm committed to doing the show still on Monday, regardless of whether we have the or of whether this comes into effect or not. Like I still want to work because I want to talk about hockey, but I want to finish the show and be able to watch hockey all day.
I loved using yesterday's show to just like kind of lightly pregame for a fun day of hockey. That felt more like a live stream yesterday, and that felt more like a watch along sort of thing than the actual watch along that we did. We just had the hockey ready to fucking seep into our bodies. It was very exciting.
Surprisingly, we don't really watch hockey a lot together, like the three of us. So it was a good excuse to hang around the studio and watch a bunch of games. Although during the playoffs, I'm assuming that we're gonna be watching a lot of games together.
Yeah, during the playoffs, we're basically going to be hunkering down here, doing a ton of shit. I noted this on Twitter. The more we beg people to subscribe on YouTube, which please do it, it helps us a lot. The more we beg people to subscribe on YouTube, the more our audio numbers just naturally get a little better and continue to get better. I don't know why that is. So as a reverse jinx, I suppose, listen to this wherever you listen to your podcasts, and maybe it'll have the reverse effect and people will subscribe on YouTube. Did the like spike work, Sean?
Yes, it did. Our likes doubled. We could still, I mean, there's still a room for improvement. So if you haven't hit the like button yet, please do. But it did help.
All right. I'm going to do one quick update. Then I'm going to do a read, and then we're going to talk about Connor Bedard. By the time I next say Connor Bedard, I want 10 more likes. So maybe you're across the room from your laptop. Get over there, smash the button, and text a few people and tell them to subscribe on YouTube.
I have two things. A, the Flyers announced that they are giving out gritty earmuffs. So we have another electric giveaway. And also, the Canadians in the chat are talking about they just like would stream sporting events in the gym. Like they would just. Is that something that happened to you, like in school? Like they're talking about they would just go to the gym and they would have a big screen where they would show hockey games.
No way
for this.
Canada's awesome, man. I love that country.
No way, that rocks.
The last update from yesterday is that the Flames beat the Jets to take the chain. Jets are now on fraud watch. Tell you what. Prize Picks is on cool watch because, man, whenever I'm like, where's Andrew Schultz? I know where to find him. It's in the community section. And Meek Mill's also there. You can play along some of Prize Picks' favorite players under the community plays and the promos tab each week to view entries from some of the biggest names in the Prize Picks community. And today's Tuesday. Yeah? Maybe it's Taco Tuesday because Prize Picks offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, Prize Picks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value, like a taco. Prize Picks now offers Apple Pay for quick and easy deposits into your account this season. It's a great time on Prize Picks. I'm there, Pete's there, and you can be there. Go to prizepicks.com/whatchaos and use code whatchaos for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/whatchaos and use code whatchaos. Daily fantasy sports made easy. Let's talk about Connor Bedard. He returned last week from a 14-game absence, tied with Brock Faber for the rookie points lead. He has had 6 points since then, including a 3-point night last night against the Carolina Hurricanes. Got into it with Spencer Martin. Whole lot of amazing shit. As Sean noted before the show, I forgot to squeeze this into the Minnesota Wild discussion earlier. As the Wild were racking up all those points, Brock Faber, not a one.
Big old goose egg.
That's crazy.
Asshole watch, young man.
He probably played 45 minutes too. Not a single point in that game. That's
Not
crazy.
A single point.
Should we be making graphics after each show to note who we have on various watches, and without explanation? So it'll just be like a 220 recap, and it'll say fraud watch or asshole watch, Vancouver Canucks logo, Minnesota Wild logo, Brock Faber.
Maybe. We'll discuss it. Bedard, by the way, another disallowed goal too. So like he's had 2 disallowed goals in the past 2 days, 2 games, and still is averaging literally 2 points per game since returning from that injury. I feel like the fishbowl might have some special powers for him.
No, I mean, he's got so much power in those finger bowls of his that I don't think he needs a fishbowl. I don't think it made him better. I'll tell you that. I think he just always had that dog in him.
He's been tearing it up, and I really think like you look at the disallowed goals that he's had. There's been 3 all season on offside reviews, and they've both been like, or all 3 of them have been like minuscule offsides, and drives me crazy. But shout out to Connor Bedard. Also shout out to Philip Kurashev because he had an unbelievable assist on one of those goals. And so I keep saying like Connor Bedard is the only player on the Chicago Blackhawks, basically. Kurashev, pretty good player as well.
No, and Bedard is not the only player on that team. I like the roster. It's very it's a small roster. It's I like the roster. I don't like the fucking Vlasic erasure. I don't like the there's too much erasure on your part for I don't like the Korchinski erasure.
Korchinski cross-checked a guy in the back took a horrible penalty yesterday.
Love
I like
that.
Kevin Korchinski. I love Kevin Korchinski. That team is very, very bad. They had 6 shots through like 28 minutes again yesterday. They will find any excuse not to shoot the puck, and it drives me insane.
Good. I don't want shots. Play hockey.
They're not doing that either. They refuse to make any body contact whatsoever. They are the softest team. They won't shoot the puck. They are completely being driven by one line and one player in Connor Bedard.
Wrong. Nick Foligno.
I love Nick Foligno. I won't say anything bad about Nick Foligno. But
okay,
but Blackhawks are a tough watch. But if we want to talk about the Spencer Martin thing, what the fuck is that guy doing?
Right. So if you didn't see it, Bedard and Spencer Martin had a back and forth throughout the game, a little chippiness. Mainly it was Spencer Martin initiating it, and then Bedard started to give it back, and he had a third period goal that ended up being overturned. But he had a third period goal where he fell to the ice as he was scoring. He sprung up and just stared at Spencer Martin. And yes, Spencer Martin pointed to the scoreboard, but seeing that out of Connor Bedard, oh my God, I don't need that kid to do anything other than score goals and be the incredible player that he is. However, I will take the cherry on top of him also being a spunky little fucker out there, and that's what he was last night. I love it.
He's had a few little showings like that. It's not overstated. It's not like doing the gritty in Jake Wallman's face or anything, but Bedard does get in on the taunting a little bit. I didn't really like think that either side was in the wrong yesterday. I didn't even find that like I wondered if Connor Bedard was staring at Martin when he was doing that or was just trying to kind of like figure out and find Kurashev or something. But then Martin throws a stick up to the scoreboard and points to it. And like, first of all, you're Spencer Martin. You were cut by the Blue Jackets and you ended up with Carolina, and your save percentage is still sub 900 this year. I don't think you get to talk shit to Connor Bedard. Obviously, you're beating the Blackhawks. Congratulations. The Blackhawks suck ass. You don't get to point to the scoreboard when Connor Bedard scores a sick goal on you. Fuck off.
All that's right. And this is coming from someone who has somehow personally gone to 2 Spencer Martin games this year. I've only been to like 5 hockey games.
Same.
And Spencer Martin has played in. Oh, right. Do you see him? Yes, you were there for the Blue Jackets
the exact same game 2 times in a row where the Bruins couldn't get anything on him for 40 straight minutes, and then Brad Marchand made his life hell in the third period.
You were at that other one too?
I was at the second one too, yes.
The one where Jeff and I went? No, you weren't.
Yes, I was. We were all in the text chain talking about how that happened again.
Where are you sitting?
I was not sitting with you. I was with my friends.
This is wrong. We'll talk about this after. But
it is not wrong. I was there. I went to both of those games. I've been to like 2 or 3 Bruins games this year, and those were 2 of them.
It's crazy that he's been at most of the hockey games I've attended. I don't fault him for taking an attitude. Obviously, he's not necessarily in the wrong, but he's in the less cool because you're a kind of random a-hole goalie for the Hurricanes, who, as you said, was cut by a team that could use any help it could get and is firing their general manager because they've got such a hard time assembling a roster. I just love that it brought that out of Connor Bedard. And we talked about it with him. Does he need to be any sort of big, great, flashy personality? Obviously, the answer is no. But Sean and I were getting so hyped just speculating on the idea of Connor Bedard having an attitude to him. It would go such a long way.
I agree. Like, I want him to have that quiet attitude, though. Like, we've talked about it recently where Jack Hughes coming across as a little bitchy in recent months. He's got a little bitchiness to him, and it's kind of like annoying. Like, he doesn't have time for this kind of deal. I don't want to see Connor Bedard have that sort of attitude, but I want him to have like an air of like, I know I'm so much better than you, and do something about it kind of deal.
Right. All right. So Sean and I are kicking this around before. If you have 100 attribute points that you can give to Connor Bedard, and they go either towards skill or attitude, how do you divvy them up? And I will emphasize that the skill that you're giving to him is Connor Bedard's skill. So even if you give him like 3 skill points, he's going to be one of the best players in the world because it's Connor Bedard levels of skill. Would you go like 90-10, 80-20? Where are you going?
I think I would go like somewhere between 85-15 and 80-20 because I want to be surprised by it every time that it happens. And I want Connor Bedard to be likable, you know? Like I want people to be like, "Oh, that's right. He does have that in him," when he kind of gives you a little attitude and gets a little saucy. But I don't want it to be like a regular thing where that's like part of who he is and who he like. And I don't want to see him become a heel. I want him to be beloved league wide.
Yeah, I'm going 93% skill or I'm going 93 skill points and 7 attitude points because I want these moments to be events. Yeah. I want it to be like a Michigan that hasn't been run into the ground yet. And we've already gotten a Michigan out of him. We've gotten a stare down out of him. I want maybe 4 or 5 of these moments a season where you say, this little, why I oughta, one of these days, Alice, you know?
Yeah,
I agree. That from him.
I really want to know. I want to know like I don't know if it's come out yet, but like the details behind. I wonder if him or Martin has talked about that because it just seemed so random. Like, why would Connor Bedard stare down Spencer Martin after that goal, and why would Spencer Martin take such offense to it and point to the scoreboard?
Well, did you not see the shit that was going on between those two during this was a game long thing?
Oh yeah.
No, I didn't see it earlier in the game.
Yeah, so that's what I was saying off the top. Like, Martin was like giving him the business and like throwing little jabs at him, and he pushed him back.
Yeah, no, I didn't see that.
Yeah,
That makes way more sense.
They skated past each other at the bench, and Spencer Martin, at one point earlier, he like grabbed his stick, and then they skated past each other towards the benches, and he like gave Bedard a shot, and so Bedard took offense to it, and then he scored that goal and stared him down.
I'm back on the Spencer Martin asshole watch stamp because I figured that Connor Bedard wouldn't start shit for no reason.
Have received an update, by the way, on whether or not Pete was at that Tuesday Hurricanes game, and he was not. You are thinking of the game that we all went to with various groups of friends. I knew that you were at that one. You were not at the one against the Hurricanes. You were at the Blue Jackets one.
I was definitely at the Blue Jackets one.
Yes.
But I was also at the Hurricanes one.
So the one like right after we had who's the forward on the Hurricanes that we were fucking with?
Jarvis?
Seth Jarvis.
Yeah. So yeah, the mom's trip with Seth Jarvis and his mom. I really think you were.
I was at that game. Yes, I was. I was texting about the fact that I was at 2 Spencer Martin games that fell in line the same thing. I was at that game.
Apologies, listeners. Pete's being very difficult today. He's under the weather. Don't know what's going on with him.
I will do some text thread research.
If I'm wrong on this, that's okay. I'm willing to be wrong on this. Pete's very sick, though, so just consider that. We got to talk about the Buffalo Sabres. They lost to the Ducks yesterday. How can you blame them? Frank Vetrano just going arf, king. People are requesting your temperature, by the way.
I told you I
Being
I
very
had to run and
difficult.
go. I had to run and go get it during the read, or else it wasn't going to happen. It's upstairs.
Mike Harrington, the Buffalo News, legendary writer. I'm not saying that he got this from somebody. I'm saying, though, that when a veteran scribe writes something like what he wrote yesterday in the Buffalo News, you pay attention to it. The name or the headline, which obviously the writers don't write, is after getting swept by the Ducks, everything and everybody should be in play for the Sabres. I'm going to pull up the standings right now. I should have done that before. But the Sabres right now are under 500. They have 52 points in 55 games. They are tied for second to last in the Atlantic. Obviously, people thought they could have done something this year. You said last week maybe they could make a run. Still not ruling that out, but it's not looking great for them right now. Here is what...
I was going to say, thank you for... You really underplayed what I said last week.
No, you said maybe that you weren't saying they're going to make the playoffs.
I said don't rule it out. You said you could have easily thrown me under the bus with a don't rule it out that they're going to make the playoffs. But appreciate you. Go ahead.
I've been very honest about things you have and have not done this entire episode. Are you maybe
at that game
in your weakened state, confused and lying about stuff?
I don't think it is a fever dream. Go on.
That would be hilarious. Also, maybe it's just that because Jeff and I were there, you felt like you were there.
No, I was there.
I'm going to keep Sean on this as he investigates. If you could also, though, Sean, throw up this excerpt. Writes Mike Harrington, you can assume Don Granato, head coach, will still be coaching the Sabres on Wednesday night in Montreal. But next October, that's a long way off. No sure thing. You can assume Kevin Adams will still be running this team as general manager at the deadline in 2.5 weeks. But draft weekend in June in Las Vegas, no way to be sure of that either. Here's where it gets really juicy. And as for players, if you're an NHL GM and you call Adams now, you should be told the only guys currently wearing blue and gold you can't touch are Rasmus Dahlin and Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. Maybe Owen Power too. A step back this season, but too much potential to ignore. You want to talk about anybody else? Adams has no choice but to listen. Obviously, this is an indictment of how far the Sabres have fallen because, again, I don't think Mike Harrington is writing this unless it's slightly informed. Names that he left off there. JJ Peterka, who is 22 in the second year of his entry-level contract and has 19 goals in 55 games. Tage Thompson, who's 26 in the first year of a 7-year deal with a $7.14 million cap hit. He has 32 points in 45 games. Casey Middlestat, who's 25 in the final year of his entry-level contract, 44 points in 55 games. And Dylan Cousins, who's 23 and in the first year of a 7-year deal with a $7.1 million cap hit. There's a lot of guys you can trade on that roster. I would have added more names to the untouchables list there.
I absolutely would have too. I mean, to me, Tage is still untouchable for that team. Would throw Dylan Cousins in there. I don't think Casey Middlestat is, although he probably should be. He's like been the best player on that team this year, just based off the contract situation. Like you're gonna have to pay him a ton, and like I can understand where you're coming from the like because the Sabres absolutely need a bit of a culture shift. It seems. I would not rush to trade away the good young players that they have on that roster because as we saw last year, like those guys can pop and they have popped. This is a down year where a lot of shit is going wrong, and to like field offers on those guys before you change the leadership behind the bench seems insane to me because we talked about it months ago. I just feel like Granato kind of has hit a wall with that team and he can't really get more than what he's gotten out of them beyond that. And I do think they need somebody to help take them that next step. And the fact that they haven't made that change yet is surprising to me.
Right. So I think that maybe they can do what the Blue Jackets just did, which is get rid of the GM, thinking you're probably going to do that at some point anyway, and use the rest of this season to kind of assess what's what with your guys, see how it looks and which guys respond to the fact that you basically cratered your season. I don't know if all the players I just named are untouchable. If I get an offer for Dylan Cousins, do I want to trade a 23-year-old player who I've got locked up for 7 years? No. But when you're a team that has as much of a culture problem makes it sound like they're bad guys. I don't think they're bad guys. I think that they're used to losing.
Right.
I think that sending a shot across the bow and trading somebody who you would think would have that commitment or be committed to by the team isn't the worst signal to send. You just need to get something back. But, I mean, Tage Thompson, I'd need a ton for. Middlestat kind of makes sense in terms of he's at the end of his entry-level contract. Maybe the team and him disagree on what his next contract should look like. We see guys at the end of their entry-level contract traded all the time. That wouldn't shock me. But I do think there are more sensible veteran types to trade. Okposo, even Clifton, who's at the beginning of a deal, but he's like a veteran on a not prohibitive contract. You get something for him. There are moves you can make to signal to the team rumpus time is over without having to move out JJ Peterka, who I think should be like the most untouchable, one of the more untouchable players in the league with where he is right now.
In the league is wild. But I mean, like, I agree. I see what you're saying.
Having an awesome season, has term beyond this year, is making nothing. This is the type of player that you say, yeah, let's see where this goes.
I mean, yeah, of course. But when I say, like, you know, I'd take calls, it's much different than I'd look to rush to get these guys out the door. You know, if you're talking about taking calls and seeing what you can get for a guy like Casey Middlestat in the final year of his deal, yeah, for sure. See what that haul can look like coming back. And, you know, yes, like, you know, I think that the idea of trading somebody to send a message is probably smart, but you just have to be very careful about who you're sending.
Yeah, I misspoke on Middlestat, by the way. He's still an RFA, but he's on his second contract. So that doesn't, I mean, he's still a young guy, not making a lot of money. See where it goes after this. But I was telling Sean before the show, like, if you tell me he's going to be my team's second line center for the next 6-7 years, that can be a good second line center. Like they've got the bones and the good pieces. I wonder what
I think the big problem is that all their good players are young players. They've tried to bring in veterans, but the problem is the veterans they've brought in haven't been that good. Like, they're not that good of players. And I really do think you need to mix in some older guys. Like, Skinner is probably their oldest and longest tenured player outside of Eric Johnson, who's not tenured. But, like, Skinner's been there for a while.
No, it's got to be Okposo.
Yeah, but he's not longest tenured. Like, you know, I think Skinner's probably the longest tenured. Yeah, Okposo.
He's been there longer than Skinner. Islanders. Right?
I was still researching Pete, so I missed the beginning of the conversation. Is this about the longest tenured Sabre?
Yeah.
I mean, the longest tenured Sabre is Zemgus Girgensons.
Well, it's probably Girgensons, right?
Yeah, right. No, it's definitely Girgensons. I'm pretty sure Middlestat's been there longer than all of them. No, not Girgensons, obviously, but Middlestat was there before Tage, before like most of these guys.
I want to say that Okposo got there in like 2017.
I think Okposo was
2016.
Skinner, though, yeah.
So Okposo's been there since 2016. He's been there
longer than I expected.
Ever. Yeah, he was part of like the Islanders exodus.
Yeah. But all I'm saying is, like, I think they need some older guys in the room to correct some of the bad habits that they've developed. And I think you need a new coach to help kind of foster that change as well. But this team is just really developing bad habits, and they're not following a system that leads to winning hockey. And this has been kind of a problem of theirs for a while. Like, even last year when they found success, they missed the playoffs by 1 point. Nobody was really looking at them as a team that was going to make a playoff run, like a deep playoff run, just based off the way that they played. They played like a very unhinged, very open style where they'd score a ton, but they'd also bleed chances the other way and not get a bunch of saves.
Well, from the Buffalo news to the Tennessean we go, because there's a couple stories from the weekend that we weren't able to hit yesterday in all of our fun and hockey previewing and grab ass. The Predators, who are on the outside looking in if the playoffs began today, were supposed to go to a U2 concert. It didn't go down that way in Vegas. This is from the Tennessean. The U2 concert at the Sphere in Las Vegas was going to go on Sunday with or without the Nashville Predators and their staff, because general manager Barry Trotz and coach Andrew Burnett still hadn't found what they were looking for. At this point, pause, we've gotten to 2 U2 references, and the Tennessean is now on asshole watch. Stop fucking doing this shit of like, I snuck however many lyrics into a blah, 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 blah. Stop fucking doing that. And yes, I have a lot of friends who work in the industry who do shit like this. I'm not talking to you specifically, but stop fucking doing it. I'm talking to everybody specifically who does this. Anyway, they didn't see what they were looking for, blah, blah, blah. Thursday's 9-2 loss to the Dallas Stars at Bridgestone Arena. The show went on without them. That made Sunday anything but a beautiful day for the team. Instead of spending the off day in Vegas at the concert, the Predators spent the off day in Nashville following its 5-2 victory Saturday against the Blues in St. Louis. The team flew to Vegas Monday morning ahead of Tuesday night's game. So long story short, in that mess of U2 references, the team was planning on going to a U2 concert at the Sphere. They didn't play well, so leadership said, no, it's canceled. You don't get to go, which, holy smokes, when you're a kid and that happens, you think that your dad is going to change his mind and that he's just bluffing, but boy, they weren't bluffing, and God, that must feel horrible.
It's got to feel horrible, too, because it wasn't just the players. It was like the staff. Like everybody on the team and on the trip was going to go to the U2 concert at the Sphere. And then the team lays an egg and nobody gets to go. Everybody's got to go home early and get suspended. And that really sucks. But it's also, it's one of those things. Like it's going back to the Sabres conversation. Like sometimes you just got to send a message and you're going to hurt somebody's feelings in the process. And this has been a big sort of emphasis, a point of emphasis for Barry Trotz in getting to Nashville. He's not about rumpus time. He sent guys packing immediately in his like first 2 weeks on the job because he didn't like what they were giving him in terms of like what they have in the room, their commitment to the team, things like that. Just out the door immediately, had no problem doing it. So when Barry Trotz doesn't see the commitment to the play on the ice, I don't think anything's off the table with this guy.
I just wish we found out that some Predators went anyway, because they wouldn't find out. The team wouldn't find out until Monday morning when they showed up to fly to Vegas. Hey, where's O'Reilly? Where's Saros? Where are these guys? I don't know. They may have taken an earlier flight. They better not. Did they go to the fucking Sphere? I don't know. You're going to have to ask them, coach. That'd be amazing.
That would be great.
And then,
I don't think that'd be a good business decision, though.
And then those players, after getting scratched the next game, came back and scored 1 million fucking goals. And they were like, yeah, we went to a fucking U2 concert. Made us good at hockey. Should try it sometime.
You think there's any chance that Barry Trotz was a little sour about Matt Duchene scoring a couple goals against the Predators last week and then immediately going to play a show at Tootsie's?
I thought that was so overrated. I thought that was, it was, oh, legend. What a beauty.
But I mean, maybe Barry Trotz was a little bit on edge, a little bit sour that was done right in his face. I mean, he famously bought out Matt Duchene, and Matt Duchene, who, like, we can all agree, he went to Nashville because of the country music. He's dreaming to play in Nashville. I think a lot of people could say, hey, maybe he cares too much about the country music, not enough about the hockey.
I just like that the Predators
just shoved it right down Barry Trotz's throat and then went to play a concert at Tootsie's.
I like that the Predators are just taking everything out on music.
Yeah, right.
They're like, okay, we all need someone to oppose. You know who the bad guy is? It's music.
You know who they should go after? They should go after Kirill Marchenko. They would love Kirill Marchenko.
That motherfucker's not going to be at the Sphere. Nope,
That's
he's
right.
not. He's not doing anything at that. He's going with earbuds, being like, "Hey, this is a cool aesthetic." Although, if they're writing a bunch of stuff on there, I don't like to read books, so I'm not checking that out. But you give me some cool lights, a puck, I'm gonna shoot that thing in the net.
It is true that like music does seem to be at the root of all the Nashville Predators' problems.
If they
Matt
could,
Duchene was too busy playing music. The team currently too busy thinking about going to the U2 concert to play a 60-minute game. And now this.
they
Here
need
we
to.
are.
They're gonna hold an event before their next game, and they're gonna be like, "Hey, everybody, Vince, get out here. Vince Gill is out." And he's like, "What? Like, whatever part of the team you own or however you're involved with this team, you're gone, buddy. We want nothing to do with music anymore. We will not play the anthem. It's going to go over very well in Tennessee. And anything that has to do with music from now on is out. We are here to play hockey, and that's it. And if you think about going to a concert at Bridgestone, your tickets will be voided because you're not a real fan."
I'll be honest. If you took away my U2 concert going experience, I wouldn't be that upset about it. I'd probably be like a -3 the next day again anyway.
I've gone to one U2 concert. It was very good. I'm not the biggest U2 fan. I would for sure see them at the Sphere, but not for a bajillion dollars.
I was gonna say I'd be more upset about missing out on the Sphere than actually missing out on U2.
We can't decide. Should we go to the Sphere? Should we go to Vegas a week early for the draft so we could see Dead & Co at the Sphere? Give Sean his first.
Dead & Co.
What's that?
I definitely want to see Dead & Co at the Sphere.
I feel like from the little I know about Dead & Co, I feel like that's going to be one of the most like trippy experiences ever. With the video that I've seen of U2 at the Sphere, I feel like it's going to be fucking with some people's minds.
So do we go? I mean, we don't need to stay the whole week, actually. We could just go like a week early, do 2 Vegas trips in a week. Go, see Dead & Co, come back, get ready for the draft, and then go back, do shit at the Sphere.
I think if you're going to go out in Vegas, you may as well just stay there for the week. Although, would we even have like that time? Because the Stanley Cup final ends like pretty close to the draft.
Oh, that's true. So we would, right, we'd probably be missing the
Cutting it
Cup
close.
final to see Dead & Co.
Unless
Vegas.
it's in Vegas.
Oh, that's so
Could
true.
be there.
The hockey gods have lined up for us in Vegas before.
Oh,
Just saying.
if we did, that is so true, Sean. If we went to Vegas to go to the Cup final and then we're just banging out Dead & Co shows at the Sphere on off nights, that would be amazing. I'd be so in on that.
A lot of stars would have to align. And like also like Game 7, or presuming it's Game 7 or Game 6, not being on that night at the show.
I will tell you what, though. Mike Grinnell threw this out today. He just said, like, who's the best team in hockey? Everybody was hammering him with Florida Panthers, which is a fine response. It's a very response du jour. My first thought when I saw that was like, I still kind of feel in my heart of hearts, it's like the Knights.
I don't know. I don't think there like is a clear-cut best team this year, and that's
That's
rocks.
what's great about this year.
Yeah, it rules.
Last thing,
year there was obviously a best team, and I think there was like a handful of best teams last year, and it seemed like everything was locked pretty early. This year, I don't know, man. It's so wide open.
Love it. Last thing that we got to hit from this weekend is that Amelia de Moldenberg, after famously tweeting at the Maple Leafs, is what's the best email to reach you via, I believe was her tweet. She was seen, spotted, posted from this Leafs game on Saturday, snapping a nice pic of Frank Vetrano there. Amazing. Pete had the eagle eyes on that when we sent that in the chat. Look at Frankie right there, ready to score 1 million goals. She was at a Maple Leafs game. We do not know what she did there. She did 1 million posts from the game, called herself a good luck charm, loved Toronto. Initially, when this all started, you thought she was doing something with Nylander. I said she's not getting out of bed for anything less than Bieber. We will potentially at some point see. What do you think went down?
What if she just wanted tickets?
Frank Vetrano, I think.
That'd be incredible. Frank Vetrano and Amelia. Ooh, that's a chicken shop date I'll tune in for. But
Amazing.
But like, what if I just think that like, what if she just wanted tickets? That'd be hilarious. Everybody just like speculating as to what this could mean for content, and she's like, just trying to see Frankie V in person.
Yeah. Anaheim, Toronto. That's a good take. Trying to get to that game. Sean, do you have an update on whether Pete was at the Carolina game?
Kind of. I just wanted to check, is this like is this a civil case or a criminal case? Like, is this preponderance of evidence or beyond reasonable doubt? Because that will change the answer.
Oh, preponderance of, I mean, so it sounds like if I want to be right, I should be saying preponderance of evidence, correct?
I'm not going to give you any more information. I just want to know what the burden of proof is here.
Well, you're talking to somebody who watched every episode of The Practice, so I'm probably more of a legal eagle than Pete is.
I'm going to say that this is a civil case. Based on the preponderance of evidence, I would say that Pete was not at the game. I have no way to actually prove that. You guys didn't text about it. The only text about that specific game, we're talking about January 24th against the Carolina Hurricanes. The only text from that game, you sent a parlay in the chat, and Pete just responded that he was over 6. Looking at Pete's Twitter from the day, he was tweeting a lot about other hockey games, specifically the Florida Panthers game, which would have started at the same time, because that was the day that they played the John Cena song and they dropped the gloves at the face-off against the Coyotes. There was also something else happening that night, but there was a lot of Pete tweeting about hockey that during the time at which he would have been at the game. So I have a hard time believing that would have been happening if he was also at the game. So Judge
that I may not have been there, I guess. But
I know how we can figure it out.
Yes.
And if we got time, I'm down to do this. Could you play the beginning of the January 25th episode?
I guess I could, yeah.
I could see that coming up in Grab Ass. Deej, I was at the game.
I don't know that it would. I feel like you're running a little bit of a risk that you're just going to be listening to an episode inside of an episode.
I think that's an incredible move.
I am fascinated now because I distinctly remember talking about Spencer Martin having the same sort of game.
So we either texted about it or you tweeted about it, and we had some correspondence about it because I think I maybe tweeted about it, or you even tweeted. One of us tweeted about it, and we talked about it being like, oh yeah, we had the same thought.
No, but I remember being like, I can't believe that I went to the same like Spencer Martin experience twice. And I remember being at the game and being like, how do I keep seeing Spencer Martin play goaltending?
This will be so weird if you're just describing something that happened to me and I said it to you and you just became me in your brain.
That day was also a pretty massive day. The Oilers had won 15 straight. We got the names, I believe, of the Hockey Canada case, and it was also the Jazz owner saying that he wanted a team in Salt Lake. So I feel like you're probably not going to be talking about the Bruins if we were to play this show back.
Okay,
well,
so
this will be an investigation that we can reveal the results of tomorrow, because I do want to look into see what happened here.
No, you're trying to pull the plug on this thing. I think that
I'm not trying to pull the plug. I'm trying to find the result, the appropriate results with the evidence, while also not like dragging this out and looking at our computers for 20 minutes to end the episode.
That was also the day of McKinnon's hat trick, where the guy threw the hat early, and you recorded a reel.
Oh, so I was definitely at home. I watched that at TV. Yeah, I was watching that game at home. So if that's the case, if that was the same day, I was at home. I was not at the Bruins.
It was a pretty big day for hockey, January 24th.
All right. I mean, if we had 5 more minutes, I'd be able to grab a smoking gun, but I think we've proven it and gotten an admission. Pete has pled out, right?
Yes. I want to examine the evidence a little bit more.
I mean, you can tweet, by the way.
You can motion.
I want to flesh out how this possibly could have happened.
I mean, I'm positive, and I don't say this to embarrass you. I'm positive I said this stuff to you, and you just remember it. And you're like,
I remember like having the thought myself. It was not like fed into my brain. I had this thought myself. I just assumed that I was at the game, but apparently I wasn't.
I tweeted, it always takes Brad Marchand 2 periods to learn it's Spencer Martin in net. That's the only tweet from either of us about Spencer Martin that day. But I also remember having the conversation with you via text during the game, possibly with you and Megan. So
that's where I'm confused, because I looked through my text and I didn't find anything that says Spencer Martin. So very confused there.
The chat is very active on this, by the way.
Okay.
They're not. Somebody said, Pete, did you maybe dream about the game after you spoke to DJ?
No, like, because it was a real thing that happened in my brain. Is that I remember what happened in this game.
Is there? So are you?
That's not a good saying. It's a real thing that happened in my brain is not amazing. That doesn't
listen. I think that I'm like, my fever is spiking and I need to leave.
So wait, there's no chance that you're talking about the
Pete's pleading insanity.
You're saying that you went to a Bruins Blue Jackets and a Bruins Hurricanes game? Is that?
I did. Pete went to just the Blue Jackets game. Pete was at the Blue Jackets game.
I was definitely at the Blue Jackets game.
Okay. I was making sure I understood.
Maybe did Spencer Martin play in net in the no, because they had like some they had the Russian guy, I think, when we went to see the Blue Jackets.
Yeah, no, it wasn't Spencer Martin then.
Okay.
No.
I'm going insane.
Well, we can continue this tomorrow. A big surprise tomorrow. You're not going to want to miss it. If you haven't subscribed or liked yet, please do that. And great slate tomorrow. I don't know about the slate tonight, but tomorrow night you got Bruins Oil Boys. That's going to be very exciting.
Hell yeah.
Can't wait for that. We got lots more to come, though. Get on the YouTube. There's Pro Shop Wars there, and there's more fun things coming there. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Get well soon to Pete, and hopefully he can get a better grasp on what happened to him on January 24th. All right, talk to you tomorrow. Bye.
We all silly like the mayor.